The alarm screaming through Kareth Station made Ambassador Thessa's crystalline body vibrate with each pulse. She stood in the command center, watching the screens show what everyone already knew. They were going to die here. Shields at 12%, Chief Engineer Vorn reported. His insectoid voice clicked with stress. Maybe 20 minutes before they fail completely. Thessa looked at the tactical display. 37 ships surrounded the station. Vekir ships. The nightmare that every species feared. They didn't negotiate. They didn't take prisoners. They consumed everything organic they found and moved on to the next target. 3 hours ago, Kareth Station had been celebrating. 7 species had gathered here at the edge of explored space. They were building something new, something important. For the first time in galactic history, multiple species were trying to create a real alliance, not a trade agreement or a temporary peace, a true union. Then the Vekir found them. "How many escape pods do we have left?" Thessa asked. She already knew the answer, but had to ask anyway. "None," Vorn said quietly. "They destroyed the last one 14 minutes ago." Dr. Sella moved between the wounded lying on the floor. The medical officer's feline features were tight with exhaustion. She had been working for 3 hours straight, treating burn victims and people injured when the Vekir weapons tore through the outer sections. Her supplies were almost gone. "We sent the distress signal," said Communication Officer Preth. The young Eleran looked at Thessa with desperate hope. "Maybe someone will come." Thessa felt her heart break a little more. "The nearest military station is 3 weeks away at maximum speed. No one can reach us in time." The station shook again, more Vekir weapons hitting their shields. Thessa watched the shield percentage drop to 11%, then 10. She thought about the peace treaty sitting in her office. 7 species had signed it yesterday. They had all been so proud, so hopeful. They believed they were building a better future for the entire galaxy. Now that future would die with them in the next 20 minutes. "Ambassador," Vorn said, "I need to make a choice. I can keep shields running for maybe 15 more minutes. Or I can transfer all power to life support and give us maybe 6 hours in a protected section of the station. 6 hours to wait for death instead of 15 minutes. Thessa looked around the command center. 43 people were here. 32 more were in various sections of the station. 75 lives. 75 beings who had come here believing in peace, believing in something better. "Transfer power to life support," Thessa said. "If we're going to die, let's die with dignity, not in panic." Vorn's antennae drooped, but he nodded. His hands moved across the controls. "Transferring now. Shields will fail in 3 minutes. I'm sealing the intersections. Everyone needs to get to the core." People began moving. Some helped the wounded. Others grabbed what supplies they could carry. Dr. Baosella directed people to the center of the station, where the walls were thickest. Thessa stayed at her post, watching the screens. The Vekir ships moved closer. They knew the shields were failing. They were patient predators. They would wait and then tear the station apart piece by piece. "Ambassador, you need to move to the core," Preth said. "I will. In a moment." Thessa looked at the young officer. "I want you to know something. What we tried to do here mattered. Even if we don't survive, we proved that different species can work together, can trust each other. Someone will remember that." "Will they?" Preth's voice cracked. "If we all die, who will know we tried?" Thessa had no answer for that. The shields failed with a sound like breaking crystal. Alarms blared again. Thessa and Preth ran for the core section. The heavy doors sealed behind them with a deep boom. Inside, 75 beings crowded together, 7 different species, 7 different worlds, all trapped together, waiting for death. Vorn had been right. The life support would last about 6 hours, with this many people breathing the air. After that, they would suffocate slowly, unless the Vekir broke through first. Thessa sat against a wall next to Dr. Sella. The medical officer was still trying to help the wounded even though her supplies were gone. She used torn fabric for bandages. She spoke softly to people in pain, offering comfort when medicine had run out. "You should rest," Thessa told her. "I will, when there's no one left to help." Dr. Sella looked at Thessa with tired eyes. "Do you think it matters? What we did here?" "Yes," Thessa said, though she wasn't sure she believed it anymore. "We proved that peace was possible. That different species could respect each other, trust each other. That has to matter." "I hope someone remembers," Dr. Sella said quietly. Hours passed. People talked quietly. Some cried. Some sat in silence. The Vakir were taking their time outside, probably analyzing the station before beginning their harvest. Thessa checked her communications unit, even though she knew it was useless. The distress signal was still broadcasting on all frequencies. A desperate call into the endless dark of space. A call that no one would answer in time. She thought about her home world, about her family, about all the things she would never see again, about the alliance that would die here with them. "Ambassador," Vorn said suddenly. His antennae were pointing straight up, the way they did when he was surprised. "I'm picking up something on sensors." "The Vakir?" Thessa asked. "No, something else. Something just appeared at the edge of sensor range." Vorn looked at his portable scanner, his compound eyes reflecting the screen's light. "It's moving fast. Very fast." Thessa felt a small flutter in her chest. Hope trying to survive even when logic said it shouldn't. "What is it?" "I don't know. It's still too far away, but it's coming toward us." Vorn looked up at her. "Ambassador, something's out there." Around them, people began to notice. Whispers spread through the crowded core. Something was coming. Maybe help. Maybe just another threat. Thessa stood and looked at the sealed door, as if she could see through it to the dark space beyond. Something was out there in the endless dark. But was it salvation, or just another nightmare? They would find out soon enough. Captain Min Jun Park stood on the bridge of the Terran warship, Indomitable, staring at the message on his screen. He had read it 3 times now. Each time his chest felt tighter. "How long ago was this sent?" he asked. 4 hours and 17 minutes, Lieutenant Hae-il Choi said from the tactical station. The young officer's face was pale. "Captain, they're at Kareth Station. That's the diplomatic outpost where all those species are meeting." "I know where it is." Min Jun read the message again. "Distress signal. Vakir attack. Shields failing. No escape. Please help." "How far away are we?" Commander Jiwan Kang asked. The first officer stood beside Min Jun's chair, her arms crossed. 4 days at maximum speed, Hae-il said. "Sir, the message says their shields were almost gone. That was 4 hours ago. They're probably already—" He didn't finish the sentence. Min Jun understood. 4 days was too long. The station was already lost. Standard protocol was clear. They should report this to Fleet Command and continue their patrol route. A proper response fleet could be assembled and sent to investigate. But everyone on that station would be dead by then. "Communications," Min Jun said. "Has anyone else responded to this distress call?" "No, sir," said the communications officer. "We're the only ship close enough to even receive it clearly. The nearest fleet station is 3 weeks away." 3 weeks. The people on Kareth Station didn't have 3 weeks. They probably didn't even have 3 hours. "Captain," Jiwan said quietly, "what are you thinking?" Min Jun looked at her. They had served together for 8 years. She knew him well enough to read his face. "I'm thinking about what my grandfather told me when I was young. He said that being human means showing up, even when it's hard, even when it seems impossible. Sir, if we go, we can't make it in time," Hae-il said. His voice was respectful but urgent. "They're already gone." "Maybe," Minjun said. But what if they're not? What if some of them are still alive, waiting for help that never comes? He stood up. How fast can this ship go if we push everything past the safety limits? Chief Engineer Seoyeon Nam's voice came through the intercom. She had been listening from engineering. Captain, are you asking me what I think you're asking? Yes. Maximum speed. Past all safety protocols. How fast? There was a pause. We could do it in 3 days if we burn the engines continuously at 120% capacity. But sir, that would destroy the engines. We couldn't repair them without a full shipyard. We'd be dead in space afterward. But we could get there in 3 days? Yes, if the engines don't explode first. Minjun looked around the bridge. Every officer was watching him. He saw the conflict in their faces. They all knew what he was considering. It went against every rule in the book. Captain, Jiwon said, can I speak with you privately? They stepped into Minjun's ready room. Jiwon closed the door and turned to face him. I know what you want to do, she said, and I understand why. But we have to think about this ship and this crew. If we destroy our engines, we'll be stranded. If the Vekir are still there, we might not be able to fight them effectively. This could be a suicide mission. I know, Minjun said. I've thought about all of that. And I keep thinking about those people on that station. They sent a distress call into the dark, hoping someone would hear, someone would care, someone would come. He looked at Jiwon. What does it say about us if we hear them and do nothing? It says we followed protocol, that we made the logical choice. Maybe. Minjun walked to the window, looking out at the stars. When I was 23, I was on a research vessel that got hit by debris. We were stranded, dying. We sent a distress call, knowing no one could reach us in time, but a cargo ship changed course anyway. They pushed their engines past safe limits. They came for us, even though their captain knew it would cripple his ship. He turned back to Jiwon. That captain told me something I never forgot. He said that humans don't calculate whether someone deserves to be saved based on whether we can afford it. We save people because that's what humans do. It's who we are. Jiwon was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled slightly. You're going to do this no matter what I say, aren't you? I need to put it to the crew. This affects everyone. They deserve a choice. They'll follow you. You know that. Maybe. But I won't order them to do this. It has to be their choice, too. Minjun activated the ship-wide intercom. All hands. This is the captain. I need everyone to stop what they're doing and listen carefully. He explained the situation. The distress call. The impossible distance. The choice they faced. When he finished, he said, This goes against protocol. It could destroy our ship. It might get us killed. I won't order anyone to do this, but I'm asking for volunteers. If you're willing to try to save those people, stay at your post. If you're not, report to the shuttle bay. No judgment, no consequences. You have 5 minutes to decide. He cut the connection and waited. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. Finally, Jiwon checked the crew roster. She looked up at Minjun with something like pride in her eyes. Captain, no one went to the shuttle bay. Every single crew member is staying at their post. Minjun felt emotion tighten his throat. He activated the intercom again. All hands, thank you. Engineering, push those engines past every limit. Navigation, plot the fastest course to Kareth Station. Medical, prepare for mass casualties. Tactical, study everything we have on Vekir combat tactics. We're going to arrive at a battle we probably can't win, so we better be smart about it. He sat back in his captain's chair. Communications, send a message to Kareth Station on all frequencies. Tell them we're coming. Tell them to hold on. Sir, they might not even receive it, the communications officer said. Send it anyway. If they're still alive, they deserve to know someone heard them. Someone's coming. The Indomitable turned toward Kareth Station and accelerated. In engineering, the engines began to scream as they pushed past their design limits. Alarms blared as safety systems protested. But the ship kept going. Through the dark, through the impossible distance. Toward people they had never met. Because that's what humans did. They showed up. Ambassador Thessa jerked awake when Vorn shook her shoulder. She had fallen asleep against the wall, exhausted from hours of waiting to die. Around her, the other survivors sat in small groups. Some talked quietly, many just stared at nothing. "Ambassador, you need to see this," Vorn said. His antennae were quivering with excitement or fear. Thessa couldn't tell which. She stood on shaky legs. The air in the sealed core section was getting bad. Too many people breathing for too long. They had maybe 2 hours of breathable air left. After that, they would start to suffocate. "What is it?" she asked. Vorn held up his portable scanner. "That signal I detected before. It's here. It just dropped out of faster-than-light travel right on top of us." Thessa looked at the screen. One ship. Just one. Her hope, which had started to grow, collapsed again. One ship against 37 Vekir vessels? Whoever it is, they're insane. "There's more," Vorn said. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Listen." He adjusted the scanner. Static filled the air, then a voice. Clear and calm and speaking in perfect galactic common language. "Kareth Station. This is the Terran warship Indomitable. We received your distress call. We're here to get you out. Hold on." Terran. Human. Thessa felt her crystalline body go cold. She had heard of humans but never met one. They were a new species, young. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 60 years ago. They had no business being out here at the edge of space. "Did they say one ship?" Dr. Sella asked. She had heard the broadcast, too. "One human ship?" "Maybe it's a mistake," someone said. "Maybe they don't understand how many Vekir ships are here." "They understand," Thessa said quietly. "They came anyway." On the scanner, Thessa watched the tactical display. The human ship was moving toward the Vekir swarm. It wasn't running. It wasn't hiding. It was attacking. "They're going to die," Preth whispered. Thessa couldn't argue. She watched the display, waiting for the human ship to explode under Vekir weapons. But it didn't. The ship moved through space like it was dancing. It fired weapons at the Vekir vessels, not trying to destroy them, just keeping their attention, making itself the biggest threat, drawing the swarm away from the station. "They're protecting us," Vorn said, his voice full of wonder. "They're making the Vekir focus on them instead of the station." "But why?" Dr. Sella asked. "They don't know us. We're strangers to them." No one had an answer. On the bridge of Indomitable, Minjun watched the tactical display with cold focus. 37 enemy ships. His ship had enough weapons to maybe take down 3 or 4 before being destroyed. So he wasn't trying to destroy them. He was trying to annoy them. "Target their sensor arrays," he ordered High Eel. "Make them angry. Make them chase us." "Aye, Captain." High Eel's hands moved across his controls. Weapons fired. 3 Vekir ships took minor damage. The swarm reacted immediately. 20 ships broke away from the station and came after Indomitable. "It's working," Jiwan said. "They're following us." "Good. Keep their attention." Minjun switched channels. "SEO Yon, I need Shuttle Bay 1 ready for launch. Medical team standing by." "Already done," Seoyan's voice came back. "Jiwan's rescue team is ready to go." "Captain, if we send that shuttle, there's no guarantee it makes it back," High Eel said. "The Vekir will target it. Then we make sure they're too busy to notice one small shuttle." Minjun looked at his first officer. "You ready for this?" Jiwan smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone about to do something dangerous and necessary. "I've been ready since we left. I'll get them out." She left the bridge, moving quickly toward the shuttle bay. With her went Dr. Sung-Ho Lee, the ship's medical officer, and 4 security personnel. 7 people total, 7 people to save 75. In the shuttle bay, Ji-won climbed into the pilot's seat. The others strapped in behind her. Everyone secure? Good. Let's go save some lives. The shuttle launched from Indomitable, while the warship drew Vekir fire. It was small and fast and painted to avoid most sensors. It slipped through the battle like a ghost. Inside Kareth Station's core, alarms suddenly blared. "Something's docking with us," Vorn said, staring at his scanner. "Port side, docking ring 3. "The Vekir?" someone asked fearfully. "No, too small. I think it's a shuttle. From the human ship." Thessa ran to the sealed door. "Open it, but be ready to close it fast if I'm wrong." Vorn worked the controls. The heavy door slid open with a groan. Beyond it, the corridor was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered. Then Thessa saw movement. Figures in armor coming through the darkness, 7 of them. They carried lights and equipment. When they got closer, Thessa saw their faces through the clear helmets. Humans. She had never seen a human before. They looked similar to several species she knew, but different too. These ones moved with purpose and confidence that seemed strange for people walking into a disaster. The lead human, a woman with kind eyes, spoke in Galactic Common. "I'm Commander Ji-won Kang from the Terran warship Indomitable. We're here to help. How many wounded?" 15, Dr. Sella said, stepping forward. "But we have no supplies. Nothing left to treat them with." Another human, a man with gentle hands, came forward. "I'm Dr. Sung-Ho Lee. Show me the wounded. We brought medical supplies." He opened a pack that seemed impossibly full of equipment. Dr. Sella stared at supplies she had run out of hours ago, supplies she thought would never arrive. Ji-won looked at Thessa. "Ambassador, I assume? We need to move fast. My captain is keeping the Vekir busy, but that won't last forever. Can your people walk?" "Most of them. The wounded need help. We'll help them. That's why we're here." Ji-won started giving orders to her team. They moved through the survivors with practiced efficiency, checking people, organizing them, preparing them to move. Thessa watched in amazement. These humans had crossed impossible distance, had thrown their ship into a battle they couldn't win, were now organizing a rescue with calm professionalism. "Why?" Thessa asked Ji-won. "Why did you come? You don't know us. We're nothing to you." Ji-won looked at her with surprise. "You needed help." "That's all we needed to know." "But you're risking your ship, your lives." "Yes," Ji-won said simply. "That's what humans do. We show up when people need help, even if it's dangerous, even if it's hard, especially then." Dr. Sung-Ho was working on a wounded Takir. He moved with gentle confidence, using techniques Dr. Sella had never seen. "How are you doing that?" she asked him. "Doing what?" "Treating injuries I thought were too severe to help." Sung-Ho smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying, where there's life, there's hope. I learned a long time ago not to give up on people just because things look impossible." Outside, Indomitable shook under another Vekir attack. Shields were at 40% and dropping. "Captain, the shuttle is docked," Hai-Il reported. "They're loading survivors now." "Good. Keep those Vekir busy. Make them angry at us." Minjun watched 3 enemy ships close in. "Fire everything we have at those 3 vessels. Make it hurt." Indomitable. Fired. 2 Vekir ships took heavy damage. The 3rd exploded. The swarm reacted with fury, pouring weapons fire into the human warship. Shields dropped to 20%. "Captain, we can't take much more," Hai-Il said. "We don't need much more, just enough time for Ji-won to get everyone to safety." On the station, the last survivors were boarding the shuttle. Ji-won did a final count. 75 beings. All accounted for. "Everyone's aboard. Vorn, Seo-Yan needs you on Indomitable. Your engineering expertise could help keep the ship running. Vorn hesitated, looking at his station, his home. Then he nodded and followed Jiwan to the shuttle. The small craft detached and raced back toward Indomitable, through weapons fire and explosions. Thessa sat in the packed shuttle, pressed between other survivors. She looked at the humans who had saved them. They weren't celebrating. They were focused on getting everyone to safety. Out of the endless dark, they had emerged, and everything had changed. The shuttle docked with Indomitable, just as the shields dropped to 15%. Jiwan felt the ship shudder under Vekir weapons fire as she helped survivors off the shuttle. "Everyone to the cargo bay," she ordered. "Medical teams are waiting there." The survivors moved quickly, many helping the wounded. Dr. Sung-Ho and Dr. Sella worked together now, treating people as they came off the shuttle. Ambassador Thessa was the last to exit. She stopped when she saw the view through the shuttle bay windows. The Vekir swarm was everywhere. At least 30 ships surrounded Indomitable, pouring weapons fire into it. The human warship was firing back, but it was clear they were losing. "How long can your ship survive this?" Thessa asked Jiwan. "As long as it needs to," Jiwan said. But her face was grim. On the bridge, Min-Jun watched the shields drop to 10%, 8%, 7. "Captain, we need to withdraw," Hai-Il said. His voice was strained. "We saved them. We did what we came to do. We should run while we still can." Min-Jun considered it. The survivors were aboard, mission accomplished. But if they ran now, the Vekir would follow, would hunt them, would destroy Indomitable within hours. His communication panel lit up. Ambassador Thessa's voice came through. "Captain Park, this is Ambassador Thessa. Thank you for saving us. But you need to leave now. Get your ship to safety. Don't die for us." Min-Jun activated the reply channel. "Ambassador, I appreciate the concern. But we don't leave people behind. And right now, you're on my ship. That makes you my people." "You can't win this battle," Thessa said. "You've done enough. Please, just go." "Ambassador, I don't know how things work in your part of space, but humans don't abandon people. Ever. We're going to get you to safety, and we're all going to survive this. I just need to figure out how." He closed the channel and looked at his crew. "All right. We can't run. We can't win by fighting. So what can we do?" "Improvise," Jiwan said. She had returned to the bridge. "That's what humans do best." In the cargo bay, Vorn was staring at the survivors crowded around him, 75 beings from 7 species, all saved by humans who barely knew them. It didn't make sense. His species calculated risks and rewards. The humans had risked everything for strangers. Why? Seo-Yan found him standing there. "You're Chief Engineer Vorn, right? From the station?" "Yes. Commander Kang said you might need help." "I need all the help I can get. Our engines are dying. I pushed them way past safe limits to get here. Can you look at something for me?" Vorn followed her to engineering. What he saw made his antennae droop in shock. The engines were a disaster, burning at temperatures they were never designed to handle, held together with temporary repairs and desperate hope. "How is this ship even moving?" he asked. "Stubbornness mostly," Seo-Yan said. "Also a lot of quick fixes that would make any proper engineer scream, but it got us here. You destroyed your engines to reach us. We damaged them, not destroyed, not yet." Seo-Yan smiled. "And with your help, maybe we can keep them running long enough to get everyone to safety." Vorn looked at the engine readouts, at the impossible repairs, at this human engineer who smiled while her ship was falling apart. "You make solutions from broken pieces." "How?" Seo-Yan's smile got wider. "Because giving up isn't in our vocabulary. Now, can you help me or not?" "I can help. I don't know if it will be enough." "Enough is just barely enough. Let's aim for that." They worked together, Vorn's careful precision combining with Seo Yan's creative improvisation. Within an hour, they had the engines running 5% more efficiently. Not much, but maybe enough. In the medical bay, Dr. Sella watched Sung-Ho work. The human doctor treated injuries with a combination of standard medical practice and creative thinking that amazed her. When they ran low on one type of medication, he found alternatives. When equipment failed, he improvised. "How did you learn to do this?" she asked him. "Practice, necessity, hope." Sung-Ho finished treating a burn victim and moved to the next patient. "In human medicine, we have a rule. Never give up on a patient while they're still alive. Always try, always hope. Even when logic says they can't survive? Especially then, logic doesn't account for will, for determination, for the human refusal to accept defeat." He looked at her, or any being's refusal. "I've seen people survive things that should have killed them because they refused to give up. So I refuse to give up on them." Dr. Sella felt something shift in her understanding. These humans didn't calculate odds the way other species did. They chose hope, even when hope seemed illogical. On the bridge, Hai-Il was studying the Vekir attack patterns. Something was bothering him. "Captain, look at this. The Vekir are fighting differently than their usual tactics." "How so?" Minjun asked. "They're hesitating, pulling back slightly, like they're confused." Hai-Il pulled up comparative data. "Every other battle with the Vekir, the target either runs or dies. But we're not running, and we're not dying fast enough. It's like they don't know what to do with us." Jiwan leaned forward. "They've never faced an enemy that won't retreat. They're predators. They're used to prey running." "So what happens when the prey doesn't run?" Minjun asked. "Maybe the predator gets confused, makes mistakes." Hai-Il's eyes lit up. "Captain, I think I see a pattern. When we hold position and keep firing, they spread out. They're trying to surround us, but it leaves gaps in their formation." Minjun studied the tactical display. Hai-Il was right. Small gaps appeared and closed in the Vekir swarm. Not big enough to escape through, but maybe big enough for something else. Ambassador Thessa appeared on the bridge with Preth. "Captain, we want to help. There must be something we can do." "Ambassador, you should rest. You've been through enough. We've been through enough to know we don't want to die passively. If you're going to fight for us, let us fight with you." Thessa's crystalline form seemed to glow with determination. "My species developed some of the best sensor technology in the galaxy. If your tactical officer shows me the data, maybe I can find patterns he's missing." Minjun looked at Jiwan, who nodded. "Hai-Il, give the ambassador access to the sensor data." Thessa worked beside Hai-Il, her unique crystalline neural structure processing information differently than his. Together, they found more patterns, more gaps. "Here," Thessa said, pointing to the display. "The Vekir ships coordinate through electromagnetic pulses. If you could disrupt those pulses even briefly, their formation would collapse." "We don't have weapons that can do that," Hai-Il said. "But the station did. Its defense systems are still partially active. If we could access them remotely..." Preth stepped forward. "I can do that. I designed those systems. If you give me access to your communications array, I can reach the station's computer." It took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of indomitable, taking heavy fire while shields dropped to 3%. But Preth got into the station's systems. "I have control of the defense grid," he said. "It only has power for one shot. Make it count." "Target the electromagnetic nodes Thessa identified," Minjun ordered. "Fire on my mark. Hai-Il, be ready to exploit the gap. All remaining power to engines." Indomitable. Shook. Shields dropped to 1%. "Now!" Minjun ordered. The station's defense systems fired one last time. The electromagnetic pulse hit the Vekir formation. For exactly 3 seconds, their coordination collapsed. Indomitable shot through the gap like a bullet. Behind them, the Vekir swarm tried to reform, tried to chase, but the human ship was already accelerating away. In engineering, alarms screamed as the engines burned hotter than they ever should. Co Yan and Vorn worked frantically to keep them from exploding. "Come on," Co Yan muttered. "Just a little more. Just give us enough." The engines held, barely. On the bridge, everyone watched the tactical display. The Vekir were chasing, but they were falling behind. Slowly, very slowly, but behind. "We're going to make it," Hae-il said, disbelief in his voice. "We're actually going to make it." "Never doubted it," Min-jun said, but his hands were shaking. Ambassador Thessa looked at the human captain. "You knew, all along. You knew you couldn't win. But you came anyway." "We came because you needed help," Min-jun said simply. "The winning part, we figured we'd work out later. You chose hope over calculation. Every time. Hope isn't a calculation, Ambassador. It's a choice. We choose it even when logic says we shouldn't." Thessa felt something profound settle in her understanding. These humans were different, not because they were stronger or smarter, but because they refused to accept defeat. They made hope a strategy. Indomitable. Limped toward Allied space with its impossible cargo of survivors and its dying engines. Behind them, the Vekir finally gave up the chase. The prey had become too costly to catch. 18 hours later, Indomitable crossed into Allied space. The ship was barely functional, engines dead, shields offline, weapons empty. But everyone aboard was alive. Captain Min-jun sat in his chair on the bridge, exhausted but awake. He had not slept since they received the distress call 4 days ago. Around him, his crew worked quietly, keeping the ship moving on emergency power. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships ahead," Hae-il said. "Alliance patrol fleet, they're hailing us." On screen. The view screen showed a Takir admiral, his antennae stiff with shock. "Terran vessel. This is Admiral Kresh of the Alliance fleet. We received reports of the Kareth station attack. We were told there were no survivors. Yet our sensors show 75 life signs aboard your ship that are not human. Admiral, this is Captain Min-jun Park of the Terran warship Indomitable. We have the survivors from Kareth station aboard. They're safe. We need medical support and engineering assistance." "How?" The Admiral stopped, seemed to gather himself. "Captain Park, the attack was 4 days ago. How did you reach them in time?" "We didn't think about whether we could. We just went." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, we're sending support ships now. Medical teams and engineers. Your crew. They are heroes. All of them. They're humans," Min-jun said. "They did what any human would do." The support ships arrived within the hour. Medical teams transferred the most seriously wounded to better facilities. Engineers swarmed over Indomitable, already shaking their heads at the damage. "Your engines are completely destroyed," one engineer told Seo Yon. "I've never seen anything like this. How did you keep them running?" Seo Yon smiled tiredly. "Hope and stubbornness. Mostly stubbornness." Ambassador Thessa stood in Indomitable's cargo bay, watching the rescue operations. Around her, the other survivors were being checked by doctors, given food and water, reunited with their relief and gratitude. Preth approached her. "Ambassador, the Alliance Council wants to speak with you. They want a full report." "I'll give them one." Thessa looked at the young officer. "We need to tell them what happened here. What the humans did. Will they believe it? They'll have to. We're living proof." 2 days later, Thessa stood before the Alliance Council. 7 species were represented here, the same 7 that had tried to build an alliance at Kareth Station. The room was full of grief for those lost and confusion about how anyone survived. Thessa told them everything. The Vekir attack, the hopeless situation, the distress call sent into the dark, The impossible arrival of one human warship that refused to leave, refused to give up, refused to accept that anyone should die. "They destroyed their engines to reach us," she said. "They fought a battle they couldn't win. They risked everything for people they had never met, for strangers, for aliens, because that's what humans do." One of the council members, a Mirath elder, spoke carefully. "Ambassador, this is remarkable. But one act of bravery, however impressive, is not enough to change galactic politics. The humans are still a young species. Untested." "Untested?" Thessa's crystalline body flared with light, something that happened when ailerons felt strong emotion. They were tested in the worst way possible. They faced impossible odds and chose hope anyway. They calculated the risks and did it anyway. Every other species in this room would have done the logical thing. We would have calculated the odds. We would have determined that saving us wasn't worth the cost. She looked around the council chamber. The humans never made that calculation. They heard people needed help and they came. That's their test. That's who they are. And that's exactly what this alliance needs. The council members looked at each other. Quiet conversations happened. Finally, the Mirath elder spoke again. "What are you proposing, Ambassador?" "I'm proposing that we invite humanity to join our alliance. Not as junior partners, not as probationary members, as full equals, because they demonstrated the one quality we were trying to build this alliance around. They put the lives of others above their own safety. They showed us what real cooperation means." "One ship is not representative of an entire species," another council member objected. "That ship had a crew of 200, Thessa countered. "The captain gave them a choice. He told them they could leave, that he wouldn't order them to do something so dangerous. Not one person left. 200 humans chose to risk death for strangers. If that's not representative of their species, then I don't know what is." Vorn stood up from where he had been sitting in the observers section. "If I may speak, I worked with the human engineers. I saw how they think. They don't accept that something is impossible just because the numbers say so. They find solutions in broken pieces. They make hope a strategy. Every species here could learn from that." Dr. Sella stood as well. "I worked with their medical officer. He saved lives I thought were lost. Not because he had better equipment, but because he refused to give up. The humans have something we need. They have the ability to inspire others to be better than they thought they could be." The council debated for hours. Finally, they voted. The motion passed. Humanity would be invited to join the alliance as full members. 6 months later, Ambassador Thessa stood on the newly rebuilt Kareth station. It was bigger now, better defended, and serving as the headquarters of what everyone was calling the Kareth Alliance. The treaty signing ceremony was happening in the main hall, 8 species now, including humanity. Captain Minjun Park was there, representing Earth. He looked uncomfortable in his formal uniform, but he stood straight and proud beside his crew. Thessa approached him as the ceremony was about to begin. "Captain Park, I wanted to thank you again. We owe you our lives." "You don't owe us anything, Ambassador. We just did what needed to be done. That's exactly why we're here today. Because you showed us what this alliance needs to be built on. Not trade agreements or military pacts, but the simple idea that we help each other when help is needed." The treaty was signed by all 8 species. When Minjun put his signature on the document, the room erupted in applause. Every species present understood what this meant. Humanity had earned their place not through military strength or economic power, but through one simple act of compassion. After the ceremony, various delegates approached Minjun. Some thanked him, some asked questions about Earth, some just wanted to meet the humans who had changed everything. A young Alaran diplomat asked him, "Captain, why did you really come? You must have known the odds were impossible." Minjun thought about it. My grandfather told me something when I was young. He said that being human means showing up, even when it's hard, even when it seems impossible, especially then. He smiled. We heard people calling for help in the dark. How could we not answer? But you risked everything. Yes, because some things are worth any risk, saving lives, giving people hope, showing them they're not alone in the dark. Min-jun looked around at the diverse species gathered here. You were building something important here, something that could change the galaxy. We weren't going to let that die just because the math said we couldn't save it. The young diplomat nodded slowly, beginning to understand. Later that night, Thessa stood at an observation window looking out at the stars. Ji-won came to stand beside her. Beautiful view, Ji-won said. It is. I've been thinking about what happened, about that moment when we had lost all hope, when we were sitting in the dark, waiting to die. Thessa turned to look at Ji-won. Then out of the endless dark, your ship emerged, and everything changed. Hope isn't about the odds being good, Ji-won said. Hope is about choosing to believe things can get better, even when everything says they won't. We chose to believe we could save you. You chose to believe we would succeed. Together, we made something impossible become real. Thessa looked back at the stars. Out there in the endless dark, she knew there would be more threats, more challenges, more moments when the odds seemed impossible. But now she knew something she hadn't known before. Hope wasn't a calculation. It was a choice. And with humanity standing beside them, the Alliance had learned to choose hope. Even in the endless dark, someone would always emerge to answer the call, because that's what humans did. And now, that's what they all would learn to do together.